All right, now let's go through everything that is suspicious about the family. The first AP story that broke on this came out at 10:33 p.m. Eastern Time, right as the Alamo Bowl was wrapping up. Again, the words government and White House have gematria of 133. This is very much a government matter, a federal protest. 1033, a lot like 133. Headlines are often synced up by the numbers. If you're new here and this sounds like madness, I understand why you think it sounds mad, but just know you're listening to the voice of someone who's been recording and documenting this kind of stuff again and again. This is how the world around us operates. In this article, I documented the same thing about the Alamo Bowl, this standoff in Oregon coming at the time of the Alamo Bowl, a standoff in history. Standoffs in Texas also remind us of Waco. And today in the mainstream media, I've heard them bring up Waco again and again in regards to what's going on in Oregon. They're saying they hope this doesn't end up like another Waco. Let me remind you in Waco that the leader was a 33-year-old David Koresh. Remember, this is happening in Oregon, the 33rd state right now. And after Waco, there was the Oklahoma City federal building bombing by Timothy McVeigh, who said he did his action in response to what happened at Waco. He was put to death by the government at age 33. If you want to bring this back to college football, go look up Air Force's college football roster. Look at number 33's name. His name is Timothy McVeigh on the Air Force roster right now. No joke. Timothy McVeigh and David Koresh both killed by the federal government at age 33. This standoff in the 33rd state. In the reporting, they keep bringing up that it's close to Burns. Burns has the gematria of 74, just like Oregon. Oregon is the only state with a gematria of 74, the 33rd state. Remember, the word Masonic 74, the number 33 is an obsession of the Freemasons. It is the Freemasons who rule over us and orchestrate all these events by the numbers. Masons pride themselves on being the invisible architects of society. The building they took over is called the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Notice the first word in that has a gematria of 33, just like federal. Remember, Washington, D.C. equals 137. 137 is the 33rd prime number. How it all comes together so nicely. So many things in this nation established on 33 dates. The first state, the flag, national anthem, and more. The full name, Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, has gematria of 144. That's another very special number. The word time has a gematria of 144. It seems that this story was a long time in the making. Again, the Bundy family, who's behind this protest, has been protesting and fighting the federal government since the year 93, starting in Nevada, which we'll get to. Time, gematria of 144. In simple English, gematria time equals 47. Just like Nevada, this Bundy family's from Nevada. The protest beginning in 93, 23 years ago. With regards to the name Bundy, it has gematria of 66, just like the word family. It's the Bundy family who's behind this protest. They've been quoted saying they're doing this for freedom. Freedom is a word with 66 gematria. So is the word empire. And so is manifest destiny in Pythagorean gematria. These numbers are all very important to this nation. For those of you who went out and saw the Star Wars movie recently, remember it's Order 66, given after Anakin Skywalker slays the Emperor. 66 coded into so many different things. A very important number in this nation's history and a whole lot more. And just a moment ago, I was talking about Hillary Clinton and the debate being synced up with the UFC fight and it being all centered around the number 66. The powers that be love their multiples of 11. In the reporting of this story, they said that the protest was going on 50 miles outside of Burns, and I don't think that's a coincidence in light of all the 66 coding. 50, when written out, has gematria of 66. We're in the year of Super Bowl 50, the first ever Super Bowl at the end of the 66 season. 49ers hosting after being in the NFL for 66 years. Numbers of significance. They also say it's 50 miles southeast of Burns. Some things could be a coincidence, but southeast is another word with 47 gematria. A lot of the same numbers coded in this. First Super Bowl came at the end of the 47th season of the NFL. Why? Because the same gang who controls this nation and a whole lot more has always controlled the NFL, doing things by their numbers. The men that the Bundy family are sticking up for, the Hammonds, some interesting gematria between their names. Dwight Hammond and Stephen Hammond. Some things could be a coincidence. The wife of the Hammonds who spoke to the media, Susan, just makes me wonder if all these families are just made up controlled opposition. Susan, another name, was 74 gematria, fitting in with our Oregon and Masonic connections, the reflection of 47. The numbers relevant to this story. We just saw Almond Bundy speaking. Almond Bundy in gematria equals 41. Important number to this nation. That's the 13th prime number. USA equals 41. Ranchers in Pythagorean gematria also equals 41. He's protesting on behalf of ranchers and the American people. Cliven Bundy, his brother, another participant, named gematria 50, like the word America. Ranchers with the S exception also equals 50. The quote from the first night that reached the press: "We went to the local communities and presented it many times and to many different people," he said. "They were not strong enough to make the stand, so individuals across the United States and in Oregon are making this stand. We hope they will grab onto this and realize that it's been happening." So they're saying that people aren't stepping up, they're stepping up. I point out that the use of that word stand has a gematria of 58. Remember, Freemasonry equals 58. This also is happening at the beginning of the calendar year. Interesting note, the word calendar has gematria of 58, and so does the word Gregorian. We're on the Gregorian calendar. If you're new here, I have been asserting that our entire language is based on this gematria system, and we the people aren't taught about it because it's used against us so much. If we were aware of this language of gematria, we would be aware of how we have been duped all throughout history by the numbers. Another person participating in the protest, Ryan Payne, who is apparently a sniper teacher coming out of Nevada. The name Ryan Payne has this gematria of 47 the small way, 119 the big way, identical to Star of David. He's also from Nevada, which has the gematria of 47. Let's look at the Bundy Standoff. So again, it began in the year 93. Remember, the word propaganda equals 93. From 93 to 2016 is a span of 23 years. The last time they had a major confrontation with the government, it happened on a date with 23 numerology. Interesting to know. The dispute began in Clark County, Nevada, emphasis on CC33. From Nevada to Oregon, 47 to 74, the 33rd state. Protest over Bureau of Land Management roundup of trespass cattle pursuant to court order. Unpaid cattle grazing fees on public domain lands. So the federal government was saying their cattle were using federal lands and they owed money for that. The family said, "No way, Jose," and the dispute was born. Up in Oregon, the Hammonds family is being arrested for burning land that they said was theirs, and they said they were burning it to control growth in the future, as ranchers often do, and the federal government saying, no, 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 you burned up our land, that's arson, you need to go to prison. In history, the Waco siege began February 28th, 2/28. Remember, United States of America equals 228. The small way United States of America also has a connection to 93. The Alamo began February 23rd. Both Texas events, similar gematria, similar dates in history. All numbers of significance. I also meant to point out up here that their dispute, which began April 5th, went into May. May, the only month with 39 gematria. We were talking about 39 in the Bill of Rights in the beginning. This dispute starting on a date with 39 numerology. To me, Truth Seeker, it just seems like a bunch of stereotypes, men in costume, paid actors, controlled opposition. These guys look like they're straight out of a Wrangler commercial. All that's missing is Brett Favre tossing a football. But then again, we nearly had that with the Alamo Bowl game, Oregon and TCU. This protest really is happening in the middle of nowhere, Truth Seeker. Nobody lives in Southeast Oregon. Oregon, not a very well populated state. The majority of the population in Portland, up in the northwest corner of the state. About as far away from this protest as you can be. There are a significant number of people there, though, the media shows. That sign, we're here for the Hammonds. Hammonds has that gematria of 33, just like Federal, just like Malhauer, just like the 33rd state, Oregon. With the S exception, 42. Started during the Alamo Bowl. It also started on a holiday weekend, Truth Seeker. Holiday having the gematria of 74, like Oregon, like Burns, like Masonic. They've pointed out on the mainstream media today that so far there has been zero response from the police and zero response from the federal government, and they're going to continue to wait them out for the time being, which I find really interesting. I suspect if I had gone down to a federal building and started a protest, the police would have been there in no time. So we should be asking ourselves, why is there no police response? In history, the Alamo lasted 13 days. We'll see if this incident lasts 13 days. That would mean it would end January 15th. So we'll see how it all unfolds. But rest assured, this is a contrived incident, purposeful, controlled opposition. We live in a nation of people who don't fight back, who don't speak out. Our government is well aware of this, and they like to give us stories like this, oftentimes to reinforce why we don't speak out. We'll see if anything positive comes out of this for the Bundys. Likely not. Hopefully it doesn't escalate into another Waco, but that remains to be seen. And that's also the narrative that they're giving today in the mainstream. So wake up, news consumer. Wake up, sports fan. It's all a rigged joke. Anyone who is an athlete, who knows a thing about football, knows it's impossible to lose when you're up 31-0 at halftime, unless you're purposefully trying to lose, which is exactly what happened, because these games are predetermined, they're scripted, and they're by the numbers, just like our news. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.